Grab your black-fletched arrows, wargamers, because today we are going on a dragon hunt. A crimson worm has been spotted somewhere off, away from the tower. This stream right here represents the edge of civilized lands. Beyond that is nothing but monsters of all shapes and sizes. And our pact is going to go off and try to find out where that crimson worm lives and slay it. They're all a bunch of initiates. We are going to be playing Nightwatch, our first playthrough of this solo war game by Patrick Todoroff. Before we get too deep into it, we got to talk about the terrain a little bit. Here are our heroes, and they're going to go off above this ridge of cliffs and broken ground. Half movement to get through the broken ground. The individual terrain items do serve as cover. These cliffs are impassable. This stream costs 3 inches of movement to cross. We got some swamps here that are uncrossable, but they're kind of out of the way. I don't think they'll factor in. We've got 4 spawn points for the enemies. The black oak here on the frontier, a stone circle there, a circle of stone over there, and way off in the distance, a pool of green slime right there. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. When they come on, that'll be our spawn points. The tower here is their base of operations, and I'm really using it more as a nice looking way to hold my turn counter. We have 7 turns to accomplish our mission. What is the mission? I don't know. Let's ask Patrick. To do that, we're going to roll a d10 and let the dice decide. We get a 1, which means we have defend or destroy. Pack members must move to defend or destroy a single terrain piece in the center of the mission area. The scenic has 3 wounds and an armor rating equivalent to heavy. Must be protected either against damage or attacked as required. Well, we don't know whether we're attacking or defending. The bad guys are going to be doing something too. I got to find a piece of scenic to put there. I got a great idea, but we need to figure out whether they're attacking or defending right now. So on a 1 through 5, they're attacking, and on a 2, they're attacking. So they have to destroy something. Let's go with a blasphemous altar. What do you say? Give you an idea of scale. Here's a 15mm figure next to it. So our enemies are going to spawn and rush to defend this, and our heroes have to go destroy it. To give you an idea where it is, let me just kind of pull back to the tower. You can see it's right there in the center of the battlefield. It's not clear to me from reading the rules whether I'm obligated to use all 4 of a model's actions before I move on to the next model. This isn't the good guys go, and then once they're completely done, then the bad guys are going to go, which leads me to believe that it's okay to take an action with this guy and then an action with this guy. So what I'm going to do to keep track of who's done what is I've got 4 separate dice, 4 separate sets for each of those 3 actions. So this will help me if I use a d10 for him and then a d6 and then a d8. I will know how many action dice I have left over. And then once I've used all the action dice, I can move on to do the other guy's turn. That's how I'm going to take care. The only thing I need to do is remember who has moved and who has not. To make it easy for me to keep track of on this first turn, I went ahead and used everybody's free move to bring them up to the river, and then I'm just going to roll. It's going to be, this is Don Cossack. By the way, for those who missed the introduction, this is Don Cossack. He's a fighter type. This is Sapper Joanna. She is a bomb-throwing maniac. This is Graham Bavan. He's a boom boom mage, and then we have the halfling here, Gordo Smith, who is a shooter. Everything is what you see is what you get. So he's sword and board fighter. She's going to be chucking bombs. She's got 13 of those. They range from explosive to smoke to heal. Same thing with the spellcaster. And then our bow boy, he gets to shoot 12 inches and so on. So it's going to be green, blue, and green, no, I got that wrong. Red, dark blue, and pale blue. So there's our moves. Anybody that gets a 4 up is going to cross the stream. And it looks like our frontline fighter is the only one who's not able to. So it costs 3 inches to move across the stream. And our 2 kind of spelly caster types have 1 inch of movement left over. They move 7 inches. So that would be, actually they can move all the way up to here. And then this guy's going to circle around. I think we'll put him, he can move 6, minus the 3 for crossing the stream. So we'll put him over there. And now we got a problem because our front rank boy is recalcitrant. He's feeling a little a little discouraged. So we'll try to move him up, and on a 3 he does not, and then one more time. So that's it for him. He only moves 5 inches, so including the 3 for crossing the stream, he's only going to make it to right there. Slow moving. You're going to have to do better than that, guy. Oh, I almost forgot. This wizard has taken a spell. He taken a vow to research these spawn points. And at every spawn point, he needs to spend an action. Well, we're going to play 7 scenarios. By the end of the 7 scenarios, he has to touch and do a successful action at a total of 10 of these. So he's going to go ahead and do that right now. He wants to get 1 out of the way right away. A 3 is a failure. A 3 is a failure. So he still has not managed to do that. We'll go ahead and move our bomb thrower. On a 3 she won't, and on a 1 she will not. Oh, you know what I forgot though? Mr. Tracker gets to roll 2 dice every time he wants to move. Oh, so does she. She gets to, every time she or the wizard moves, she gets to roll 2 dice. So she actually does, with a 6, she actually does get 1 extra movement. And she'll use that to cruise on up. This slows movement by half. So she's going to go ahead and cruise up. Normally she can move 7 inches. She's 1.5 inches away. And so she's got basically 5.5 inches left. We'll just go ahead and run her right on up to here. And then we have our tracker who has 2 movements left over. And on a 10, he's able to get 1 of them. So he'll circle around 4 inches to here, and then it's going to cost 1 inch of movement to get tucked into those rocks. And that's the end of our hero's first turn. The next thing we need to do is figure out which of the spawn points our bad guys are going to appear from. And they're going to appear from 2 of them. They're going to appear from number 3. That's 1, 2, 3. And they're going to appear from 2. So they're going to spawn from that side and this side. We're going to start off simple. A pair of giant rats. Let me show you how big these are compared to our 15 mil. These figures are actually scaled to be giant rats for a 28 millimeter figure. I use them for 15, and they are beastly enormous. The bad guys all follow a limited AI. They have 4 rules. They will engage the nearest visible enemy, prioritizing attacks on the weak and wounded. They'll use cover when possible. They'll keep attacking until they're dead. And they want to prevent hunters from achieving their objectives. So we're going to rush all 4 of them over to the evil altar. They all have a free move. Now, these are the weakest of the lot. They have a free move, and they each have a D6. Since they're close to each other, I'm going to go ahead. They're going to move their 6 inches towards the altar, and then I'm going to roll a pair for over here. And only one of them is going to be able to take that second move. And on the other side, only one of those is going to take that second move as well. One last bit on the AI. After the monsters spawn, you roll a die, and on an even number, all of the monsters will... oh man, you'd think I would have had this open before I started recording. There's a 50-50 chance either they will consolidate. So you can see I've moved a couple of these giant rats up. There's a couple of more that are kind of lagging. That's the free move, and then their actual action moving to there. One last bit about the enemies in this game. The AI uses 1 extra thing to determine how they behave. You roll a d6, and on an even result, any creatures not in combat will move to engage an opponent. On an odd result, they will consolidate it into a clump. Also, no more than 3 will attack figure at any one time. So I've already moved the bad guys, and now it is time for the heroes to go again. We're going to start off with Mr. Bevan, who really wants to get this vow done, and on a 4, that is a success. So he only has 9 more spawn points that he needs to investigate. All of my heroes have used their free move. I went ahead and did that off camera. Our shooter has moved up to here. He moved across the stream, and they moved further up towards the target of their attacks. we got to get him up and we got to get him drawing an aggro so that he can block out the bad guys who want to attack these lightly armored opponents. So we will start with our D6. And he's not going to move. We're going to use our D8 and get a 5. So that will buy him another 5 inches of movement. And that's only going to put him 1 inch into the terrain. And then our last one, and that's all he's going to be able to do, is move 2.5 inches. So we'll at least get him up to here, where he now blocks the line of sight for our wizard. But hey, you know, at least when those vermin come at him, he can keep him safe. Next thing I want to do is go ahead and take a couple of shots with Gordo here. He is a tracker, and he's got a pretty good range. So we'll start with this. No, let's start with this guy first. We're going to make them move as much as possible. Now, he has a bonus D6. He gets to roll 2d6 and pick the best when he shoots with his bow. So a 6 and a 3 is a success shooting at this guy. Now this guy gets a d6, and on a 4 or higher, he doesn't get it. That's 1 dead. So Gordo is going to be able to turn that vermin in for a bounty at the end of the mission. He still has a d8, so he's going to take a shot at this guy. And with a 4, that's a hit. He's got a resist. And on a 1, it fails, so that's a second dead vermin. Now, I can recycle these vermin, but I've got to leave them out there for a minute, because the next thing that's going to happen is... So Gordo used his D8. He still has his D10. We're going to hold off. The next thing we're going to do is she is going to run over to this minion right here, at least if she can pull off a movement. We'll use a D6, and on a 2, she does not. On a D8, she does, so she's going to rush over here, and she's going to take an action. What are you doing? And she fails. She has a vow. She has to collect various bits and pieces of 10 vermin in order to make her vow. So, oops. That kind of forces Graham's hand now. He's going to have to, well, maybe it doesn't, maybe it doesn't. He's going to try to move up to there with his D6. And on a 5, he does it. So he moves up to the edge of this broken ground, and then he's going to fire off a spell. And if I understand correctly, so an 8, oh, I should have declared what spell it is. He's launching bolts at that guy. And mage bolts, he gets to fire 4 shots to a range of 12 inches. Graham successfully cast that spell. He actually gets to roll D10. One of the things that's not clear to me is which dice I'm supposed to roll for these bolts. I'm going to assume that since he's using his D10 action, I roll D10s for it. When you try to cast a spell as a Mancer, you get to roll 2 dice. I only rolled 1. It's fine. So he's got 4 bolts. He's going to fire off. Ooh, I wonder if he's in range. There's a second rat just in range. So he's going to fire 2 at the near one. We'll re-roll that one. Although, so that's 2 successes, and then we'll roll 2 for the far one. And on a 0 and a 2, he gets 1 success. So the near one has to make 2 saves. And with a 4 and a 2, he fails 1, and he goes down. And then the far one also has to make 1 save, and on a 6, he does. So he is still in the fight. Gordo over here does not have a shot, so he's going to go ahead and take a shot at the... Is he? Is he? It has 3 wounds. Heavy armor. Must be protected against damage or destroyed. Alright, doesn't say we have to use melee weapons, so he's going to fire an arrow and see if he can damage that. He's got a D10 action left, and on a 5, he hits. So the scenic has to make a defense roll on 2d6, and they both, 3-3, so it now takes its first wound. We'll put a little wound under the altar to show that's the case. That's it for the pact. Now it's time for the forces of darkness to spawn once again, and we'll roll a d10. So 2 rats spawn here, and on a 2, 2 rats spawn over there. we pushed in a little closer so you can see. I have a couple of rat swarm figures we're going to use for these guys. A little smaller, but more of them. I've already done the free moves for all of the enemies, and since there's none in melee combat, we need to see how they move. We'll start with these two. They're going to move to the nearest fighter. Well, I tell you what, let's roll. On a 1, 2, 3, they go for him, and on a 4, 5, 6. So he goes for him, and he also goes for him. Now we need to roll to see if they move. He does not, and he does not. So they fail their movement rolls. This guy is going to move to the nearest visible figure, which is our Mancer. So he moves 6 inches, and then those two are going to do the same. Only one of them gets to move. None of the vermin can attack at this point. They've all used all of their actions. He is going to... All right, so let's figure out the smart play here. He is engaged even though this guy can't attack. The good news is he has a spell he can cast, and he's going to try to do that. He's going to roll a d8 to try to cast Flight, which lets him move 8 inches. And on a 6, he's able to do that. So he's going to fly over here, leaving that guy behind. He'll stop right there. Then he has another spell, I'm marking these off on his sheet, called... Oh, this is his free ability as a Mancer. It's a shield spell that for the rest of the turn gives everybody bonuses to their defense dice. In fact, it gives, isn't an ability? All Mancers except roll 1, each one can be used 1 time per game per rank. So he can, all allies within 3 inches get a +2 to their defense. And they got to stay within 3 inches. Well, 3 inches is not quite far enough to bring Gordo in, but it is definitely enough to capture these two. That's his second spell, and we're going to roll a d6, and he doesn't get it off. So we got to get it off with this one. And he actually rolls a 2d10, remember, but we got it on the first one with an 8, so we're okay. Everybody here, when they get attacked, now gets bonuses to their defense. Sapper Joanna still really wants to harvest, I don't know, rat's eyes for some kind of rat's eye soup, and she gets a 7, so she finally manages to do that. She has completed the first of her 10 vows. Then she's going to use her second move, her free action, her free move. She's 6 inches away. She's going to do the same thing on this guy. Oh, what are you're wasting the spell, you silly goof. All right, but she gets a 0, so that's 2 of her curses already in this first game, and then she has one more move, so she'll go ahead and take that action to move right back to the safety of that shield spell. And since she harvested these, we're going to pull them off and use them in the next turn. The guys who have not gone yet are Gordo over here, and he wants some of that sweet protection too. So he moves 2 inches to here, 3 inches to there, and then he's got 3 inches of movement left, so he's going to move 1.5 inches up to here, onto the hill, so he can start taking shots. He's going to take a shot at this guy first, and this guy, we're going to wind up firing off 3 of them all together, I think, by the time we're done. Because he's in broken ground, we're going to give him a +1 on his defense roll. So the first shot's a miss. His second shot is an 8 and a 5, so he picks the 8, and now that rat has to make a save on a 3-up because it's in cover, and with a 2, it fails. So we'll flip him over, and he's got one more shot, so we'll roll a pair of d10s, since we're still shooting, and with an 8 and a 3, that's a hit, and Mr. Rat saves on a 1 or on a 2, he fails. Man, this archer is something else, isn't he? Which leaves only good old Gordo here. Does he want to... We're going to move him up, and we're going to take a poke at this, actually. We'll keep him just within 3 inches to lure him over. And we're actually going to use... That's his free move. We may be able to win this battle right here. I'm not sure we want to because the games only get tougher as you go. You know what he could do? He could run over here and whack that rat. We really want to kill that rat, so we're going to roll a d. Oh, he gets to roll 2 dice for melee attacks. With a 1 and a 2, it's not going to cut it. Don Cossack, you gotta get better. Pair of 6s, that will do it. And now that rat is going to die on a 1, 2, or a 3. And on 1, he does it. So Don has his first kill of the campaign. What's more, he has one more action which he can use to move, and he can move back within that. Well, is he within the 3 inches? We're going to measure our 3 inches. This puts him at 3 inches, so he's going to draw some aggro and be right next to the objective. It's now the vermin's turn, and on turn 3, we get 2 rats per portal. And they're going to appear at the Black Oak and at that portal over there. Since I am out of rats, we're going to use these wonderful irregular miniatures bat swarms as 2 of our vermin. And then we're going to recycle the 2 rats that Joanna carved up for the other 2. We're going to have them appear down here at the Black Oak, the bats, because that's going to make... Oh, no, you know what we'll do? Let's make it random. So the bats can fly right over the terrain, and Gordo thought he was safe. Let's find out how safe he really is. On a 1, 2, 3, the bats appear here, and on a 4, 5, 6, they appear over there. So on a 1, 2, 3, they do, and that means they can use their first movement to close. That's the free move. And then these guys are going to use their free move, and they'll still be 12 inches away. They're moving to the nearest. So we're rolling to see if they can close with her, and only one of them does. So we'll move 1 up to contact, and the other one will just move up 6 inches. And then we have 2 attacks now for these bats on poor old Gordo. And they each roll a d6 on their action, so we'll see how many whacks he gets. 2 failures is nice for him, so he survives that 3rd turn. And now it's on to turn number 4. And we have a grand total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The vermin are pouring in. We can win this by destroying the portal right now. Joanna is going to use her first free move to use flash powder. Kablam! That's part of the alchemist's special abilities. Once per turn, she can disengage from melee at no penalty, which replaces the free move. I don't know if that means she can use the free move, but if she can, that means she can move over to here and use one of her actions to try to gain her 3rd harvesting. And she fails. So she'll use the d6, and she succeeds, and that means she is now... Wow, she's already got 3 of those down. That's pretty good. She has 1 more action left. We're going to hold off on that for a minute because we want to bring him... I forgot to move those rats, didn't I? Let's go ahead and do that right now. The first thing I'm going to do is roll a d6 to see if that distant rat can move up to his brother. And he can. Then that other brother, he is going to charge up. This is 6 inches and make the attack here. So they kind of do like that. And then that rat gets a d6 on our armor boy, and on a 1, he misses. So the shield is gone, and things are getting a little bit tight in here. Let's do... So part of the problem is that our tracker, if he disengages, he gets attacked. He's got a -2 to his attacks, because his melee attacks, because he's only has a missile weapon. So let's go ahead and do this. We're going to start off by having our wizard, Graham Bavan. He can cast a... What do we want to do? Let's go ahead and cast another Mage Bolt. And we're going to use our d10. And with a 6, he could roll 2d10, but he doesn't need to. So now he's going to fire off 2 bolts at this guy and 2 bolts at that guy. And the first 2, he gets an 8 and an 8, so he takes 2, and this guy is a 2 and a 6, so he takes 1. He has to save twice, and he fails his first, so he goes down, and then he has to save, oh, I'm sorry, 4 is a success, so he saves, and then he has 1 more, and a 3 is a failure. Okay, so that's 1 more win for Graham with that spell, and then I think we can have, now she can throw her bombs 12 inches. Let's have her throw one of her big booms. It's a 3-inch blast, which will just catch that guy. She rolls a d10 to see what happens, and on a 7, she actually rolls 2d10. And a 6, she hits, and that big boom, because she hit, if she'd missed, it would have scattered. Because she hit, he has to make a dodge defend, and a 2 ain't gonna do it. So Sapper Joanna logs her first kill of the campaign as well. We've got 2 more guys that are left to go, and given how things are shaping up, we're going to use all 3 of our attacks for him on that. And he hits twice. Oh, you know what? He gets a second chance, so he hits 3 times. Now this is going to have to roll 2d6 3 times, and it fails for a second wound, and on its second one it passes, and on its third it fails. So the altar is broken. It is cast down. It has taken all 3 wounds, and that ends the scenario. The objective has been met, and all of these guys flee off back to the hellish home from whence they came. How about that? The next step is to figure out how much treasure they receive. With everybody gone, they get a reward, whether that's silver that they find buried under the probably some sort of spell component that was buried underneath the now broken altar. We roll a d3 times 10 to find out what the total recovery is. That's going to be a 2. So 20 silver to share out is going to be 5 for each warrior. You get 3 silver for every vermin that you killed. So Gordo is going to end up with 17. Cossack is going to wind up with 8. It's going to be 8 for Sapper Joanna. And it's going to be 11 for Graham Bevan. Now, they didn't use any of their belt slots, the healing potions and tokens and whatnot. The big thing is that Gordo Smith has vowed to donate 60 silver to the orphanage. He is already at 23, so he's doing really well on his vow as well. I don't really have anything to buy. I think I'm satisfied with what everybody has, so we're going to call it quits right here. And in 4 days, we're going to play through the second scenario, in which we're not just going to have 2 of the vermin coming at us from every one of those spawn points. We're going to have 3 vermin come from one, and 2 horde come from another. If we had made it to turn 5, that would have happened on turn 5. And if you want to know what I'm going to use for horde figures, tune in 4 days. Until then, I'm praying for you.